The most riveting testimony in the Conrad Murray trial thus far came from the head of Michael Jackson's security detail.
FAHEEM Muhammad told jurors what he saw when he walked into Jackson's bedroom the day he died.
Now, when you came in up through the foyer and into the room, showing the bed here, the nightstands on the opposing side, what did you see when you first came in?
When I came into the room, I saw Alberto standing up, kind of pacing. I saw Mr. Jackson's feet near the side of the bed on the ground. And as I continued to walk over, I could see the rest of his body. And I saw Dr. Murray near his side.
What was Conrad Murray doing?
He appeared to be administering CPR. He appeared very nervous. He was on his side. He was sweating. And he appeared to be administering CPR.
At that time, did you see Michael Jackson's face and his full body?
Yes.
And what did you observe about his face at that time?
That his eyes were open and that his mouth was slightly open.
Did he appear to be dead?
Yes.
Where were Prince and Paris when you first observed them? What drew your attention to them? Could you hear them?
Yes. Paris was on the ground, balled up, crying, and Prince was he was standing there, and he was he just had a real shock, just slowly crying type of look on his face.
Let's bring back Phil Schuman, who's also joined now by Anthony Falangetti, current defense attorney and former prosecutor. Let me ask you, it seems to me that early on, Anthony, they are swinging for the fences. Why are they doing that?
Every prosecutor in a homicide case wants to begin their case reminding the jury that a real human being is dead, and they want to display to that jury the emotional trauma of that death. So in this case, the testimony about the children crying, curled up, the other son standing in shock, that's powerful stuff. Yeah. And it's reminding the jury that there's a human being who's passed away. It's driving home their emotional hook right from the beginning. You have to do it.
And Phil, got to be tough for the family sitting there hearing this, reliving that day.
Yeah, it's tough for the family. Yesterday there was talk of LaToya and Janet comforting Catherine, but this is the first time he wasn't charged, going back to Santa Barbara child molestation. This is now counting that one. This is the third time they've been in court for Michael Jackson. Plus, they went through his horrible death, so they're used to controversy and sadness with him.
Sad overall for them. Earlier, we heard from Michael Amir Williams. That's Jackson's personal assistant. He got a phone call from Conrad Murray shortly after Jackson collapsed, and the prosecution here trying to prove that Murray did not immediately call 911.
Call me right away. Call me right away. Thank you. Something to that effect.
And were you asked to call 911?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you, upon hearing that message, call Dr. Murray?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And were you able to make contact with him?
Yes, sir.
Did he ask you to call 911?
No, sir.
What did he say?
He said, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm downtown." And he said, "Get here right away. Mr. Jackson had a bad reaction. Get here right away." And I said, "What's going on?" And he said, "Get somebody up here immediately." And then...
And did that terminate that phone call?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So after you got off the phone...
What does the defense do with that?
Here's what you're going to do. If I'm the defense counsel on that case, I want to establish one thing very clearly. The doctor is trying to administer himself immediate medical care. Somebody else needs to get 911 calls done. Somebody else needs to get the family in place. But the doctor is going to be the one administering care and trying to deal with the situation.
Well, that's the defense's
That's the defense's.
story.
That's what they have to do.
Everybody that's ever taken a CPR class says, what's the first thing you call 911 and you start CPR.
But if you're a defense counsel,
what if they say he's the doctor? You don't need 911.
Well, that's the thing. If you're defense counsel, you call 911 to get medical help. That's the first step.
But if he is dead,
the doctor, he's trying to administer that help himself. That's the defense's position.
Phil, there was also controversy today because there was testimony that Dr. Murray asked, does anybody know CPR?
Yeah.
Now, it didn't he didn't say, I don't know CPR, does anybody else know? It was almost, you could say that he was asking for help.
Yeah.
Someone who knew help.
True.
Doing help.
Yeah.
So in this day, who do you think won
the
the day?
prosecution won, but to me it means very little because, you know, we're
It's
the,
so
like the
early
first
on.
round of like a 15-round heavyweight fight.
We also
The
heard
prosecution certainly should win today. It's the beginning of their case.
Sure.
It's the easiest witnesses they're going to have.
And we hear the name Dr. Arnie Klein again about other drug use with Michael Jackson. What does that do?
Well, the defense's theory is that Dr. Murray came in at the very end of a long addiction of Michael Jackson. But the judge, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the judge has said a lot of that's going to be limited. He's only interested in Dr. Murray's actions that night, that day. So whatever Michael Jackson might have had experience with another doctor before may not be relevant, according to the judge.
There's going to be some limits on that, but we already have seen early on the judge is going to give the defense some leeway. And it's because, in part, in the prosecutor's opening statement, he plays an audio tape of Michael Jackson where he seems out of it, he seems unable to clearly communicate, and that sets the stage. That was, although presented by the prosecutor, certainly something that's going to help the defense to set the stage that prior to this day, prior to Dr. Murray's involvement, something was going on with drug abuse.
Got to wrap it up, guys. And one of the
Okay.
witnesses did testify to that, seeing Michael a little bit out of it on other occasions.
Right.
Okay. Jackson family turned out in force for today's trial. Phil Schuman back to describe the chaos he witnessed as the entourage left court. Next.